Good morning, everybody. We all doing all right? Good. Fantastic. Florida. Here we are. Yeah. How do you get started on these things? You know, it's always something you come to these situations and you don't know, oh, well, whatever. How's it going? How are y'all doing? Good? Fantastic. Some participation over here. Great. Claps over there. Great. What are you grateful for? That's a very important question to consider. I always like to start talks and little reflections and stuff like that with that little question: what are you grateful for right now? You know, just think in your heart something that you're grateful for. Family, life, maybe a good night of sleep, or whatever it may be. What are you grateful for? Gratitude is so big. A fantastic talk so far, though, huh? Good. All righty. We'll get her going in just a second. Get some traction, but. So last night I was planning on being here for the Mass, got in late. The plane that we were supposed to fly on from Dallas to Orlando, the flight was coming from Miami and it was leaving the storm, and it got struck by lightning. Apparently that happens, I guess. I don't know. And luckily it didn't crash, but it made it, so they had to ground it and redo everything. So we left late. They had to give us a different plane. Anyhow, came, and I was here for the dinner, though, and Father Mike's talk. Fantastic, huh? Did y'all hear Father Mike's talk? Isn't he great? And it's really neat to just hear preachers like him, like Chris, like Jackie, like the rest of the people that we're going to hear throughout this weekend, people who love the Lord and share that love with other people. I'll be honest. Last night, after we finished the dinner, I went back to the room, and I was thinking, how am I going to follow that up? Because he said everything that I was going to say. So I had to go home to the room and rewrite everything. But I got to the room, and I thought that was going to be a safe refuge. Like, okay, good, I can just escape it all. And I got in, and I said, this is a nice hotel room. I don't know how y'all's rooms are. Mine was super nice. I'm still there. Is super nice. There's more marble in the bathroom than both of my parishes combined. So anyhow, I get there, to the room last night, and I'm just amazed at the marbles there in the bathroom, and I'm like, and then I check out the bathroom because I need to use the restroom, and there's a shower and a bathtub, but no toilet. I'm like, well, gosh, where's the toilet? So I looked around. There's like another bathroom within the bathroom for the toilet. In Arkansas, we don't have that, and it's all outside. But, so all the marble there, there were some little cookies, like, I don't even know what they were. It was like these rainbow-colored Oreos that were like coconut and creamy on the inside. Nice stuff, like so many things we don't have in Arkansas. And it's just, I feel so spoiled, and it was here. And you know what, Red Legs, the devil, he started getting at me. He's like, hey, you're out of your league, bud. You're, just as Jared said, you're a little country bumpkin from Arkansas. What are you going to do here? What are you going to say here? You started the comparison game. Do you ever get that? When you compare yourself to other people. And how does that go? How does that treat you when you start comparing yourself to other people? It goes nowhere pretty fast. And so there I am in the room. I thought I was going to have a safe place where I could get ready for today and everything. And I was just distracted by so many things. The bed sheets are so white. Mom always buys colored bed sheets and towels, because with boys in the house, we stain it right after the first one. The first time we use them or whatever. I don't know how they keep them so white, but it was almost. I felt really out of place, almost like not depressing. That's pretty deep, but like just kind of heavy. And I was like, what's going on? And so I said, I got to set this aside. Forget the distractions and just do what I need to do. So I was going to tie up some loose ends for the talk. And I was doing it, still thinking about the fantastic talk I just heard from Father Mike, anticipating the great things I was going to hear today from the other speakers. And then it happened. The toilet started leaking, right? And I said, there's something like home here, right? So I was sitting there and I was like, all right, I got to go jiggle the toilet handle. Now that's happened to all of you, right? Yeah. No? Yeah, okay, yeah. Come on, help me out, people. Yeah. It's like you're doing whatever you want, or you get in bed, finally, long day, and then whoosh, like you hear the toilet tank filling up, right? You know what I'm talking about? Anyhow, that took me home. We got leaky toilets. It's country bumpkin, yeah, heaven. Anyhow, it's amazing how the leaky toilet kept me instantly grounded. Took me home, and that's when the Lord was just very clear with me. He said, use your story to tell the story. He said, all these other people are going to use their story to tell the story, and I want you to use your story to tell the story. If you don't take anything else away from what I'm going to say for the next 35 minutes, take that. Use your story. Live your story so that you can better tell the story. We are here for this good news conference. And what is the good news? Jesus Christ. A few days ago, we celebrated All Souls Day, and one of the readings, the options for readings, it was from John 17. The New American translations began the line with Jesus saying, I pray for those, the people you gave me, they are a gift to me. They are your gift to me. Isn't that amazing? So often we can think that we're God's gift to the world. We're not, right? We're not God's gift to the world, but we are God's gift to his son. Isn't that amazing? Like, doesn't that give you some comfort? You are a gift to Jesus Christ. That's the good news. That's what you and I wrestle with every day. That's what we try to accept, knowing that we're not worthy, but he still loves us. We are his gift. He's our gift. We're his gift from the Father to him. I went to, Arkansas grammar ain't so good, so y'all just stick with me. Use your story to tell the story. So the talk that is assigned to me is the priest as evangelist. Now I'm not going to get real knee deep or neck deep into what I do as a priest, because there's not a lot of priests here. There's some. I actually see a brother priest here, which is really makes my heart smile so big, from the Diocese of Little Rock. Anybody from Arkansas? 4 people. Arkansas is one of the 50 states. Okay. It's south of Canada and north of Texas, okay? That's about it. But you know what? It's a special place. It's a special place because it's home. It's home. And as an evangelist, you can never forget home. Never forget where you came from. As soon as you forget where you came from, you begin going to the grave. Never forget where you came from. Okay? Priest as evangelist. Who of you are baptized? Who's baptized here? Great. Fantastic. You walked right into it. By virtue of your baptism, you have a baptismal priesthood that you got to live out, right? So there we go. I just made the flip. Now all the monkeys on your back. You have a responsibility to preach the gospel. In Evangelii Gaudium, the joy of the gospel, that first great document by Pope Francis, we hear this line. It's the task, evangelization is the task of the church, and the church is the people advancing on pilgrimage. Evangelization is the task of the church, and you are part of that church. Evangelii Gaudium, that's a big word for joy of the gospel. I'll say that. It's easier for the redneck to say. And 119 in the joy of the gospel, it says, in all the baptized, from the first to last, the sanctifying power of the Spirit is at work, impelling us to evangelization. You've got a responsibility and a duty to preach the good news, to share the story through your story. Okay? Take people to Jesus. Bring people to Jesus. As a priest, my main job is to sanctify people, right? To bring Jesus to the people and take people to Jesus, to be a bridge for them. Through your baptismal priesthood, that is your job, to sanctify the world, to make people holy. To make people holy. Every person you encounter, you should desire that they get to heaven before you. Not that they die before you, but if there was a line, that they would be in front of you. And you should be happy about that. Everything else in life, what are we doing? We're fighting to get to the front of the line. Talking about being out of place. When I did theology in Rome, imagine a redneck in Rome, Italy for 4 years. That was something. And the Italians, any Italians here? All right, great. You guys are fantastic at cutting lines. They get those elbows and just dig in and get to the front, but they're so happy to get to where they're going. You know, we should be so excited about going to where we're going, but we should be so quick to let someone in front of us, right? To let somebody in front of us in the line. All of us are called to preach. We're all called to share the good news. The priest as evangelist. Now, you may not feel like you're ready to preach the gospel. You never will be. As I just said, the church's main task is evangelization, and the church is a people on pilgrimage. We're on a journey. Evangelization is nothing other than starting the hike and hiking with other people, knowing that you haven't yet arrived, neither have they. And you got to do everything you can to get there together. So I want to talk about just a couple of things. First of all, a few little practicalities of preaching, some things that I hope can help you with your preaching skills. And maybe that's intimidating, hearing the word preaching, or even evangelization, talking about Jesus, right? Or, in simpler terms, being a Christian, what it means to be a Christian. So I'm going to talk about that, talk about some basics of preaching, and then I'm going to talk about a few people that have helped me to be better preachers. A few people that have helped me to be better preachers. Evangelization is the art of storytelling. In Arkansas, we can tell some good stories. As Jared said, I love hunting. And do any of y'all hunt or fish? Or have husbands who hunt or fish? Or wives or parents? Yeah. We can have some fantastic stories, right? Just the big one that just got away, things like that. Evangelization is the art of storytelling. And it's not just what you say, but also how you say it and who you say it to. And those are some important things to consider for preaching the gospel. What you say, how you say it, and who you say it to. Again, from the joy of the gospel, because the Latin word's too hard to say. Number 150, whoever wants to preach must first let the word of God move him more deeply and become incarnate in his daily life. In other words, before you can preach the good news to other people, you have to let the good news take effect in your own life. Right? I'm not going to say anything that's earth-shattering today. I'm not going to say anything that you haven't yet heard. But hopefully I can put it together in a way that draws your attention into to that task of preaching. Preaching and teaching, sharing the good news. What to say and how to say it. First thing I want to talk about is what to say, right? What is it? It's the good news. It's Jesus Christ. The Lord loves you. You are God's gift to his son. That's pretty cool. But how do you share that? And where do you get that information? Before you can share a story, you have to hear the story. Before you can share the story, you got to hear the story. So I just want to talk about 3 areas where we have to be hearing it all the time. We have to be always consuming this and taking in this story. And the more we hear it, every time we hear it, we see and hear things that we didn't see and hear before. I don't watch a lot of movies, but the ones that I do watch, I watch over and over and over. Dumb and Dumber, have you seen that one? That's a good one. That's a brilliant movie. Every time I watch it, there's something in there that I didn't get before, and I always laugh. That's a great one, Dumb and Dumber. Tombstone, have y'all seen Tombstone? Fantastic movie. Every time I watch it, I take something out of it. Every time you open up your scriptures, it's that good story. And you'll pick up something new. You got to do this over and over and over and over. This is a living reality. It's a relationship. So therefore, you can always get something else out of it. I want to talk about 3 key areas. First of all, the spiritual reading that you do, the sacramental life that you live, and then the people that you encounter. Okay? The spiritual reading and the sacramental life and the people that you encounter. And afterwards, I'm going to talk about 3 different people that have helped me to learn how to do that well. Spiritual reading. Okay. Who brought their Bible with them in here today? You don't have to raise your hand, actually. Who didn't bring your Bible? Okay. Yeah. I've tried to get in the habit of always taking it with me. If you don't have it, you're never going to open it up. Now, yeah, we can get it on our phones and stuff, and that's good. But we use this for everything else. And there needs to be something different about this. There needs to be something different about this. Every encounter with God, in a way, is a liturgical moment. It's this intimate moment when heaven and earth come together. Right? We have to get in the habit of carrying our Bibles. All right. So another thing I want you to take away from this: carry your Bible with you. Get in the habit of having it with you. If you forget your phone and you leave the house, what do? You go back for it. If you forget your purse, your wallet, what do? You go back for it. I don't have kids, but if you forget your kids, what do? Y'all didn't laugh at the other, so you leave your kids, don't you? Bad people. No, I'm joking. Yeah, but our scriptures, though, if we forget it, that's all right. I'll Google it. I'll read it when I get home, whatever it may be. Get in the habit of literally carrying this thing with us. If there's something that the other denominations do that we don't, they take this with them everywhere they go. It's in their hand, it's in their eyes, it's in their ears, it's in their heart. If you don't have it with you, it's not going to become part of you, right? If you want to share the story, you got to know the story. And this is where we get it. This is one of the best places that we get it, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit in a second about some other ways that we get the story. Scriptures, take them with you. But don't just take them with you, use them. Something happens when you have a daily encounter with sacred Scripture. There was a seminarian brother of mine. He listened to a talk by Father Larry Richards, and he just said this line that was the key takeaway from the talk: no Bible, no breakfast, no Bible, no bed. Maybe y'all have heard that before. No Bible, no breakfast, no Bible, no bed. So simple. But the Scriptures are broken up in these little paragraphs, these little, just read one little section. Don't kill yourself with it. Just read one little paragraph, one section, a part of a psalm. I suggest the Gospels. Just go through all four, and when you finish all four, start over and just keep going through them. No Bible, no breakfast, no Bible, no bed. And I've done that. And whenever I don't do it, I can tell a difference. Whenever I do it, I can tell a difference. And it's amazing how the Lord works through that, through the daily encounters. This, as a priest, this happens to me all the time. All the time. Whenever I make the time to read sacred Scriptures, the writings of the church fathers, the writings of the saints, the documents of the church, whenever I take time on a daily basis, not a weekly binge for an hour or two, but I'm talking about 2 or 3 minutes every day, God uses that. Without fail, I'll have an encounter with somebody, and magically, right, they ask a question or mention something, and I can immediately remember what I just read that morning. God always uses it. Whereas whenever I go on those weekly binges, when it's just like, one time a week that I open it up, I encounter somebody and something happens, they say something, do something, and I'm thinking, I remember reading it, seeing it, hearing it, but I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. You got to use it on a regular basis. Take your Scriptures with you, read them every day. Read them every day. Okay, I'm going to give you a lot of things to take. If you don't remember anything else, don't remember this one too, right? You got to have your Scriptures, and you got to be reading them, right? What to say and how to say it. A daily encounter with the Word of God. Carry it with you. Of course, sacred Scriptures is a great source. The church fathers, right? They can be pretty intimidating. The writings of the saints, go there. I'm not going to go into all these details because you know it. You're at this Good News conference because you know what the good news is, right? You came here to get better at it. So, are you doing it? That's the question I'll give you. You're all here because you know what it is. And so then the question I'll ask you to follow up is, are you doing it? Every day, every day. But you can't just read it. You can't just consume the stuff. You got to chew on it. You got to chew on it. I've got 2 dogs, a collie mix and a beagle mix. The beagle, I don't know if any of y'all have beagles. Do any of y'all have beagles? They always act like they're dying of hunger. And I can, Shorty, he's the beagle. Pretty original name. He's a short dog. The other one is Murph. Shorty, though, I give him something and he doesn't chew it up. Well, it's not funny. It is kind of funny. He'll chew it up and then he'll start choking on it. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? I'm sorry. But it's not like a dangerous choking, but it's like when you, You ever been just real hungry, you get a big piece of meat and you chew on it, then you don't chew it enough and you swallow it and you just feel it going the whole way down? It hurts. Where's I going with that? You got to chew up. Yeah. Gosh, this is going nowhere fast. I mean, you can't just, for it to become part of you, part of the consumption process, you've got to chew it up. So you've got to make time for silence, that time of quiet meditation. There's a contemplative aspect that must always accompany your study. As consumers and as workers in the world that we live in, it's all about how much we can get done and how quickly we can get that done. This takes time. This is beyond time, actually. So every time you go to prayer, every time you meditate on the story, whether it be through Scripture, the writings of the fathers, the saints, the church documents, you have to practice stepping out of time. You have to be willing to waste time. The greatest resource that you have is time. Anything else you can get more of. Money, material things, family. There's so much we can always get more of. Time, as soon as it's gone, it's done. We have to be willing to waste time, because whenever we waste time for the sake of God, that allows us to step into that space that's beyond time, right? So we got to consume the story. We have to be part of the story if we're going to be able to share the story. All right, I'm not going to beat that dead horse. Get it? Y'all got the point? All right. Do it. Do it, okay? That's the thing. You got to hear the story. You got to hear the story. Mom always got on to me for hearing what she said but not listening to her, right? Have you mama said that? You hear what I'm saying, but you're not listening to me. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Yeah. It's like, I hear what you're saying, Mom. Or she says, well, you need to listen. I'm listening too. Well, what'd I just say? Clean my room. No, I didn't say clean your room. And then she goes on this 20-minute rant of all the stuff I've done. Moms are good at that. Moms are good at remembering, right, details, right? As soon as I did something bad as a kid, my mama, she's got the mind of an elephant. Isn't that what they say? They don't forget anything? Yeah. And, I could fight with my brothers or my sister, and then she's bringing up stuff that I did when I was 7 and 8. And I'm a 13-year-old teenager at the time. And it's like, Mom. Anyhow, they remember it. I love my mom. Read your Bible every day, consume it, and don't nag your kids. Okay, we'll go. You got to hear the story. If you want to share the story, you've got to know the story. To know the story, you have to be in the story, and you have to consume the story. You have to think about the story. You have to let the story become part of you, and you have to live that story yourself. Right? If you're not part of the story, the people they're not going to believe the fiction that you're telling them. As soon as you begin living it, it becomes a reality. Then it's a nonfiction. Then it's true. Then it's life-changing. That has to become part of who you are. The second thing that I'm going to talk about, you got to know the story. That's the first thing. The second thing, you got to live the story. What does it look like for you and I? Right? We're not just a brain. We're not just a heart. We're not just hands and feet. We're all of that. We're the human person. We're the human person. We have a sacramental life. This crazy crossroads of existence where our flesh and our soul are united. And anytime we put too much emphasis on either one of those, then that's when we miss the mark. I love archery, and the word for hitting the target or for missing the mark in archery is chata in Hebrew. The word for sin is the same thing, missing the mark. You've probably heard that before, right? I think it's the same in Greek as well, but I don't know the Greek word. But you missed the mark. Now with archery, though, when you miss the mark, for you hunters, you know what I'm talking about. If you miss the bullseye with your weapon and you know that you were on target, what do? Do you keep shooting it? No, you make a small adjustment on your scope, on your sighting apparatus on your bow, and you take another shot. You missed the bullseye again, but then you judge from the last shot that you took. Did you get closer or farther away from the bullseye? And then you make a small adjustment and you keep shooting. To be a Christian is to be willing to keep shooting. To be willing to miss the mark, adjust, and reshoot. okay? So often when we miss the target, we get upset, we get down on ourselves, we don't make the adjustments necessary. You're going to mess up. Thank God we've got the sacramental life to help us stay on track, right? The sacramental life is a bridge-building life. As a priest, it's your job to bring Christ to the people and take the people to Christ. And that's a tough task. You've got to know your people and you have to know Christ. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But if you're going to be a bridge, you have to know both sides. That requires you to be a sacrament. That requires you to bring Christ into the world. And the only way you can do that is if Christ becomes part of you. Yes, I've talked about hearing the good news, the gospel. But the gospel message, salvation through Jesus Christ, is not limited to a book, but it can be found in a person, and it's in Jesus Christ. Through him, through the church, you know, that ragtag group of followers that you and I are part of, he gave us the sacraments, these bridges that allow us to perfectly receive him and to perfectly give ourselves to him. As we heard Father Mike say last night, you know, the point he was making with Sunday Mass, very often we'll go for the hour as long as God can give us the rest of the week to ourselves. You can never be outgiven in God's love. Try it if you think you can. Make a sacrifice. Sunday Mass is fantastic. Try daily Mass. And if you don't go to daily Mass on a regular basis already, just try going once a week and see what happens. Visits to the Blessed Sacrament, to the Adoration Chapel. Those things are important. When was the last time you went to reconciliation? Throughout this weekend, you'll have the opportunity to go. I try to go every 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks. I love it. It's a fantastic sacrament. I'm broken, and I need to be fixed. Use the sacraments. Go to the sacraments. Regular Mass, regular reconciliation. Bring other people to the sacraments as well, okay? So we got to live a sacramental life. A sacramental life is a life that's committed to a journey, a process. As pilgrim people, we have to have this journey mindset, okay? So we know that Mass, we have to have active participation, right? But I would invite you to take it another step and to have active, regular, prepared participation. Not just active participation, but prepare yourself before and do it regularly, okay? Active, regular, prepared participation in the sacraments, okay? So, Holy Mass, the Eucharist, sacramental life, okay? You've got to know both sides if you want to be the bridge, okay? Got that point? First one, you got to know the story. Second thing, you got to live the story. The story is still being written. You're part of it, okay? I'm going to go into this third point because I want to get to the last thing that's kind of fun, actually. This is all fun. Jesus is fun. I like it. What am I doing? I'm nervous rambling. The third thing, as a preacher, you have to know your people. You have to know your people. As an evangelist, I encounter so many people, and every person that I encounter has to hear the gospel in a different way. Keep that in mind. Every person that you encounter has to hear the gospel in a way that's unique to them. You don't change the story, but you change the way that it's shared, okay? The content is still there, but the language that you use to share it is different for each person that you meet out in the battlefields of the world. Know your people. Who are the people that God has sent you to preach to? Share the story. You got to know the story, but you can't just know it, you got to live it. But you can't just know it and live it. You got to share it, because as soon as your life is affected by something greater than yourself, you can't help but pour out joy, right? That's the natural response to love. Gratitude and generosity. Something that comes up often whenever I'm talking with people, whenever they want a secret for being a saint. They want to be able to do it, and they want some help, whatever it may be. I keep going back to those two things, gratitude and generosity. If you want to be a saint, those other things can be very intimidating. all the holiness and piety and all the sacrifices that the saints do. And some of us can't do them to the level and to the degree that they did. Pride can easily slip in. But gratitude and generosity is a secret weapon against Satan. He does not know how to manipulate it against us. All those other things, Satan knows how to get his little greasy, grimy fingers in there and just twist it a little bit so that we can say, oh, look how holy I am. Look at all these great things that I'm doing. Gratitude and generosity, though, immediately are self-diffusing. Like it's all about the other. Gratitude, to be truly grateful, you recognize that you're poor and you ain't got nothing. But what you do have is a gift that you've been given. And you don't deserve it. But somebody loved you in your brokenness and your wretchedness and you being the person that you are. With the skeletons in your closet, somebody saw you and still wanted to love you. That's love. And gratitude is a proper response to that. Now, what does gratitude naturally flow into? Generosity. Whenever we're grateful for something, we realize that we were poor, we've been made rich because of somebody else's love, we've been blessed, and we want to share it. Because we say, if they can love me the way that I am, who am I to not love this person in the state that they're in? Okay? Gratitude and generosity. Gratitude and generosity. Okay. Know the story. You got to live the story. And you got to know your people. Who are the people that God has sent you to preach to? All of us are called to a unique vocation, to a unique mission in preaching this good news. A little point I want to make here. Just because something is good doesn't mean you have to do it. I've seen a lot of people, including myself, get in trouble because of that. We see something that's good, even that's holy, maybe very pious, very religious, but God hasn't called me to do it, hasn't called you to do it. If we do it anyways, though, it's amazing how Satan can manipulate that. We don't do things simply because they're good. We do things because Christ calls us to it, right? It's all about that good news, and the good news is Jesus Christ. We hear his voice, and we respond to his voice. Just because something is good doesn't mean that we're called to do it. We do what God calls us to do, okay? Who are the people that God's calling you to preach to? Do you know them? Are you in the trenches with them? Can you speak the language they speak? Do you share the wounds that they have? Do you have the same history that they do, the same hopes, dreams, and desires? Are you breathing the air that they're breathing? Are you drinking the water that they're drinking? You've got to know your people. Won't go into too many details on that. I think it makes sense. We all clear? We're good on that? Okay. Is this kind of making sense? Okay, good. All righty. Yeah. Know the story, live the story, and share the story. That's your job as a preacher. A few weeks ago, I watched the movie Schindler's List. Have y'all seen that? Fantastic movie. Absolutely amazing movie. I'm not going to go into all the details. Long story short, during the time of Holocaust, this rich guy from, I think he's from Czechoslovakia. Was that right? Well, we'll see. I don't know. This rich guy comes in there, takes advantage of the whole war situation, builds these plants and the cheap, almost free labor of the Jews that were taken prisoners by the Nazis. Before long, he starts seeing that his employees are being killed. Now, initially, that upsets him because whenever his employees are being killed, that means less work, less workers, less output, less money in his pocket. So he starts with these personal motives to protect his people so he can keep his wallet fat. But then, over time, what happens? He begins to see that these employees are people. And then he starts using his warehouses, his job, all the everything that he has to protect the people. Long story short, he ends up saving thousands because of the networking that he had, the power and positions, the wealth that he had. He used it to save people. The gifts that you have, do you use them to enslave or to save people? You've been gifted with so many gifts. You've been graced with so many graces. Do you enslave people or do you save people with those things? Oskar Schindler began by enslaving people, but he had a change of heart and started saving people. Now, in that movie, there was a time, he was always at parties. drinking and smoking. And in that movie, there was a lighter that he had. Now, this is a Ronson Princess lighter. I don't know if y'all have seen these before. You've probably seen Zippos. I got this on the plane. I didn't get it on the plane. Like I managed to get it on the plane with me, is what I was saying. We can, priests, we can be sneaky. Hey, the things we'll do to preach the gospel, right? The things we'll do to bring people joy. I know a priest who got kicked out of the prison because he was sneaking cigarettes into one of the inmates. And so I don't do that. I don't smoke cigarettes either. But anyhow, in that movie, Schindler's List, there was a little lighter. I'm fascinated with lighters. A few years ago, I became fascinated with Zippo lighters. And then, I got them. And then it was really neat to get the older ones because there's a way of checking the date on them. This lighter was made between 1948 and 1952. That's pretty cool. I got it on eBay for $7. On the side, though, it says Claudia. That's kind of cool. $7 on eBay, and I got it going. It works. Who's Claudia? And what is her story? Have you ever stopped to consider the little details like that? And it started as just a personal thing, like, oh, that'd be a cool lighter to get. I want to see if I can find one of those like Oscar Schindler had. And I found one. But then it came in the mail with a lady's name engraved on the side. Who's Claudia? Who gave it to her? Did she smoke cigarettes? I don't know. What did she do with this lighter? Is she still alive? Has she died? Does she have family? Where's she from? Does she have kids? What was her job? What was her special talents, her gifts? What were her vices, the things she always struggled with? Who's Claudia? Who's Claudia? To know your people, you have to show interest in them. You have to care about hearing their story. You have to care about hearing their story. I've learned a lot through this little lighter about the story. About the story. And not just knowing the story, not just hearing the story, not just sharing the story, the good news of Jesus Christ, but also other people's story. And that's the last little point that I'm going to make. And I'm going to finish with these, with a few people that have taught me how to know the story, how to live the story, and how to share the story. I'm going to talk about inmates, prison inmates. I'm going to talk about addicts. I'm going to talk about rappers, okay? Probably weren't expecting those from the priest, huh? People that I know. I don't know rappers, but I listen to rap. But I do know inmates, and I know a lot of addicts. Inmates. Inmates have a great gift for speaking the raw truth. When you hit rock bottom, you've got nothing to lose. When you've lived a lie for so long, all you want is the truth. People are hungry for the truth. The world is living a huge lie right now that's being narrated by the society, right? By the world, by whatever it may be. There's a great lie out there that Satan is still telling. How can you speak the truth in a raw way? Inmates have the great ability of speaking the truth in a raw way. A few things in particular that inmates have taught me. First of all, the power of holy conviction that leads to conversion. We live in a world that's so full of people that desire to convict somebody. We want to point out all the wrong things that other people have done, all the problems they have to lead to their condemnation. If you're willing to convict somebody, you better be willing to walk with them through their conversion. As an evangelist, my heart's beating now. Okay, here, I got it. As an evangelist, one of your key tasks is convicting people. But you better not convict anybody unless you're willing to journey with them through their conversion. If you convict somebody and leave them to rot and die, if you condemn them to death and let them alone, you're just as guilty as they are, and you need to be convicted. As an evangelist, you have to convict people, and you can only convict others if you yourself have been convicted. The only way we can be convicted is by knowing Jesus Christ. Prison inmates have taught me that. I didn't learn that in seminary. I didn't learn that from the saints. I learned that from some broken people in the prison in Jackson County, Arkansas. If you're going to be willing to convict somebody, which you better be willing to, as an evangelist, you better be ready to walk with them on their conversion. If you're going to convict them and condemn them but not walk with them, don't do it. Do not do it. Convict, but be willing to walk with them on their conversion. Inmates have taught me a lot about the need, the necessity of building trust. Before I can go in there and just preach to them, they have to know that I love them. The first time I went to the prison, I was able to spend the whole morning with them. And as a priest, you get some super cool perks. Like you get passes everywhere. And I got to go in, not just to the visiting room, I got to go into their barracks with them. And here I am. I'm not the biggest guy. And they're like, "Hey, Padre, we're about to work out. You want to work out with us?" and they're big dudes. And I was like, "Yeah." They didn't know I was a ninja. So we worked out for 45 minutes, and I gained their respect. I was willing to sweat with them. Before you can preach to somebody, you have to sweat with them. You have to be willing to love them first. And one of the best ways that you can show your love to them is by sweating with them. Are you willing to work with the people that you're preaching to? One of my heroes is Father Stanley Rother. I'm not going to get into his story. A priest from Oklahoma City, flunked out of seminary, went to Guatemala, was killed for his people. He's buried in Oklahoma City. His heart is in Guatemala, in Santiago Atitlan, because that's where his heart was, with his people. If you're going to preach the gospel, your heart has to be with your people, even if that means lifting weights in a prison. You have to build the trust before you can preach to them. Inmates have taught me about conviction and conversion. They've taught me about loving the people that you're preaching to. Now, many of you may not have had the opportunity to do prison ministry, and you may not know many inmates. Maybe you have a family member, maybe you yourself have been an inmate, but not a lot of us have had that kind of interaction with inmates. But a lot of us have had interactions with addicts, right? That's a different prison that is around us all the time. Addicts. And I've learned a lot from addicts. I'm just going to go through a few little points that addicts have taught me and in ways that they've helped me to become a better preacher. First of all, they are broken and they've accepted that reality. Now, it's one thing to be broken and to know it. It's another thing to be broken and to accept it. Sin is pretty tasty, right? For us being so clean and so perfect, it's crazy how much we desire that drug. Why do we keep doing it? Why do we keep doing it? Addicts have taught me a lot about being broken and accepting it, but then not sitting there and wallowing in the pain, getting help. As broken sinners, we need a Savior, and we have that. We have that in Jesus Christ. We have that in the church. We should have that in our brothers and sisters. They've taught me how to recognize brokenness, humbly accept it, and to seek help. Addicts have also taught me about the power of routine, right? There's something about an addict that's not just a thing that they're doing, but the whole environment around the drug or the addiction that it is, whatever it may be. You know, the sacramental life is very much the same thing, and the addicts have taught me what it means to be addicted to those things, to be addicted to the sacraments, to keep going back to that drug. That gives us that holy inebriation, right? Addicts are broken, they've accepted it, and they're willing to get help. As an evangelist, we have to, first of all, recognize that we're broken. We have to humbly accept that. We have to be willing to get help through Jesus Christ, sacramental life, regular reading of the scriptures. We also have to be willing to be patient with the people that we encounter that are broken, that are addicted as well. Okay. Just before my ordination, our vocation director gave a talk the night before for the Holy Hour, and it was during this Holy Hour, he was speaking about how we were to serve as priests. He told us to love from our weakness, to love from our brokenness. Now, when we love from our strengths and our virtues, it's good to do that. But what happens is that the pride can slowly bubble up and get pretty big. right? The focus becomes the ego and not the I am. When you love from your brokenness and from your weakness, you realize it's not about you. And preaching the good news is not about you. It's about preaching Jesus Christ. Addicts have taught me that. It's amazing. Somebody so broken, so hopeless, so out of control has given me so much freedom and has helped me so much as a priest. I think they can help you a little bit with that too. Love from your weakness. Love from your brokenness. Because when you're loving from your weakness and your brokenness, you're loving from the cross. And that's where lives are saved, from the cross. The last group of people that I'm going to talk about are rappers. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Now, I'm not going to get into them on their own, rappers, especially their content. I mean, it's pretty rough. It's not for the faint of heart, especially the content, some of the things they can sing about. Evangelization isn't, though, for the faint of heart either. The people that you encounter, the stories that you're going to hear will make you blush. In my 5 short years of priesthood, I can't say I've heard it all because something always happens. There's always something else. I've heard all 10 commandments. Like, you're going to hear things, see things that make you blush, that make you uncomfortable. How do you see that reality? Rappers have an amazing way of using words. They're amazing lyricists. As a preacher, you have to be good with words. You have to be able to speak the truth, the one truth, the truth of Jesus Christ in many different ways. Now, in our culture, in our society, what do? We just change the truth to make it easier to fit my narrative. But as an evangelist, what we're called to do is take that one true story, the story of Jesus Christ, and make it applicable to all the people that we're encountering, right? Rappers have taught me how to know my people. They've taught me how to share the story in unique and creative ways. You have to know your audience, right? The way I preach to the Women's Guild is differently than the way I preach to inmates. The way that you preach to coworkers is going to be different than the way you preach to your family. Know who you're speaking to. Know who you're preaching to. Be willing to describe the gospel. Be able and ready to describe the gospel from multiple angles. A rapper can say the same thing in so many different ways, but then after they've said it, that same line has many different levels. And it's amazing what they, their use of words for sharing the truth. The depth and layers. Okay, that'll be a quick point. We'll run out of time. Got all my note cards. Inmates and addicts and rappers, they've all taught me something about preaching the gospel. Conviction leading to conversion, building trust before you can preach to somebody, having a routine, knowing that we're broken and we need help, and being okay with that, knowing we don't have control, not running from a scary situation, being able to describe the truth in many different ways. Inmates have taught me about truth. Addicts have taught me about goodness, and rappers have taught me about beauty, going deeper. These 3 people have taught me about the transcendentals. Is it working for you? How's it going? How is your gospel preaching working? Galatians 5, Paul talks about the works of the flesh and the fruits of the Spirit. Are they there? What works and what fruits are coming up in your life? It's undeniable. Right? It's good or it's bad. Just to close with these points, I will say these are some things that you can look at to see if your preaching is working. Is it leading to conversion? Are people's lives changing? Secondly, what is your flame doing? Is it setting people on fire or is it burning them up? Does it make their blood boil or does it give them energy and joy, zest for living? What flame do you carry in your heart and what flame are you sharing? Is gratitude and generosity present? And then finally, the undeniable thing of joy. Joy cannot be contained. Now, as a priest, it's my job to preach. And you, as baptized Christians, it's your job to preach as well. Now, it's going to be easy to compare yourself to other people. That's what I was doing last night. And it was amazing how a leaky toilet instantly took me back home. and how the Lord used that. Fantastic, fabulous hotel room. And the thing that was most sacred there was a leaky toilet. Because that leaky toilet brought me back to Jesus Christ. Now, we're some pretty leaky people. Broken people? Maybe I'll say that, broken. Maybe that'd be weird if I'm like, okay, yeah, we're broken people, right? Sometimes we need our spiritual toilet handle jiggled, right, to fix it. And evangelization is about that. We can go into these rooms where it's all white marble and clean linens, but finding that little thing that's broken and starting there. Because it's in the brokenness that grace can flow most freely. And so I just invite you all to be grateful for your responsibility to be a priest through your baptism and have that responsibility of preaching the good news. You got to know the story. You got to live the story. You got to share the story. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to your protection, implored your help, or sought your intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly into thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. God bless you.